Tonight, a man is dead after a police shooting in North York.
I looked to the left, saw this guy standing there with his gun drawn.
The SIU is investigating what led up to the man's death. Plus,
that's just wrong. They got to think these things through. Go visit your loved ones, as far as I'm concerned.
The Premier lashes out over a ban on window visits at long-term care homes. Plus, can you spread the coronavirus outside? It's been the subject of much debate. We'll try our best to provide some clarity ahead of a very spring-like weekend. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. A 30-year-old man is dead after a police shooting this afternoon. It happened outside a hotel right next to a police station near the 400 and Finch. The province's Special Investigations Unit is now trying to piece together what happened. With what we know, here's Angelina King.
Outside of a Best Western hotel and right beside a police station, a 30-year-old man shot and killed by a Toronto police officer.
I looked to the left, saw this guy standing there with his gun drawn, pointing downwards towards the ground.
Just after noon today, Toronto police say they received a call about a man with a gun and a knife inside of a car outside of the hotel. The SIU says police found the car in the parking lot, and when the officer got out of his car, the man did the same. There was some sort of interaction, and the SIU says the officer fired his gun several times and hit the man. He died on scene. Marty Wilkinson was at the hotel installing shields inside to help protect staff from COVID-19. He says the officer he saw with a gun was wearing plain clothes and believes the officer was pointing his weapon at someone on the ground behind a car.
20 seconds later, 10, 20, 30 police showed up real fast.
They didn't have to travel far. Toronto Police's 31 Division is right next door to the hotel. The SIU has taken over the investigation and is looking into one subject officer who they believe shot the man and 3 witness officers.
The SIU is called in anytime a police officer is involved in an incident that results in serious injury, death, or allegations of sexual assault. It helps determine whether criminal charges should be laid. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
We are hearing tonight from the family of a personal support worker who died this week after contracting COVID-19. Arlene Reed worked with the Victorian Order of Nurses in Peel. Her death comes as another long-term care home operator is facing a lawsuit. Lisa Shing has those details.
Days after her death, Arlene Reed's children are still reeling.
She was phenomenal. She was amazing.
In all aspects, like her smile lit up a room, her laugh. She was vibrant.
She treated everybody like her own kid.
The 51-year-old died at home over the weekend, the second personal support worker in the province known to have died from COVID-19. Reed was a home care worker and employed at long-term care homes in Peel Region.
Seeing my mom deteriorate in such a short period of time, it's an experience that I can't explain. And I'm just trying to figure out where do I go from here and how do I live without my mom.
In Kitchener-Waterloo, Tracy Rowley is also mourning the death of who she calls her second mom. Shirley Eggerty never married nor had children. This photo of Tracy hung in Shirley's room to remind her to be positive.
She called me her daughter. We would exchange Mother's Day gifts and cards that I would to her and Christmas gifts.
Eggerty tested positive for COVID-19 in early April. She died last week. Today, Rowley signed on to this class action lawsuit against Rivera, the company that runs the home where Eggerty lived, citing negligent care.
I didn't get to see her again. I didn't get to hug her and say how much I love you and how special you are. I don't want any other person to lose a mother, a father, a friend. This isn't the way they deserve to go out.
The lack of management oversight, the lack of training of staff, the underpayment of staff, the understaffing of homes, the profit over what I call the profit over the person motive of these long-term care operators has existed for years and years.
Rivera says it's reviewing the matter and will respond in an appropriate way at the right time, and it'll continue its efforts in caring for residents. Over the past week, the number of deaths in long-term care homes in Ontario has steadily increased from 516 to 835, a 62% jump. In Ontario, long-term care residents make up about 77% of all COVID deaths, higher than the 68% in all of Canada.
No matter if it's transferring staff from the hospitals or bringing in the military, it's all hands on deck.
But some unions are calling on the government to take over managing the homes, like in other provinces, including British Columbia. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario officially surpassed 1,000 COVID-19 deaths this week. That was a mark the country as a whole hit 2 weeks ago. Our CBC News team has compiled stories with what we know about some of those first 1,000 Canadian victims as the virus tracked from the West Coast to Quebec to right here in Ontario. You can find that at cbcnews.ca. Well, Premier Ford not mincing words today when he found out that in Ottawa, public health officials want to stop family members from having window visits at city-run long-term care homes. Ford calling that decision ridiculous.
I'm trying to be politically correct, but I'm usually not politically correct. That's ridiculous. Not to be allowed to go look at your loved one through a window and, you know, give them a kiss or put your hand up on the window. That's just wrong. They got to think these things through. Go visit your loved ones, as far as I'm concerned.
The new policy has provoked a storm of complaints from family members, even some Ottawa City councillors. Mayor Jim Watson has directed staff to come up with a plan to reinstate the visits by this time next week. We still don't know when businesses will gradually be allowed to reopen in Ontario, but the province did answer the question of how, releasing new safety guidelines those businesses will have to follow.
These guidelines will help Ontario businesses adapt to the new reality we face and keep workers and customers safe.
The guidelines will apply to sectors including manufacturing and restaurant and food service. They include ways to ensure physical distancing, such as staggering shift times for employees and using ground markings and barriers to manage traffic flow. Businesses will need to promote proper workplace sanitation, provide personal protective equipment, and enforce employee hand washing. The province is adding nearly 60 new labor inspectors to outline the new guidelines to essential workplaces and enforce emergency measures. And there is some data tonight that suggests the GTA's condo rental market has dramatically reversed its course over the last month, with more landlords than tenants. And experts say a drop in demand for Airbnb rentals may be playing a role.
There are all sorts of ways that people were putting Airbnbs on the market, but of course that whole market has collapsed, and you know, the people who were using them for that use all of a sudden are making no income now and can't afford the units that they have. You know, tenants are pulling out of the market, landlords are listing their units, and it's really created an oversupply in the short term of condo rentals right now.
And John Pasala says he has seen a 25% increase in rental listings, while the number of people looking to rent has decreased. Experts say condos are also being listed a few $100s cheaper than they were a year ago, with rent prices dropping about 3.5% in April. And Toronto City Council voting tonight to extend the city's state of emergency declaration until the COVID-19 crisis ends. That declaration gives the mayor special powers to enact bylaws. The decision came amid another first. For the first time, council met by video chat. Nick Bovair has more.
Councillor Cole, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
After a few technical glitches, which many of us can now relate to.
Councillor Holiday?
I'm trying. Toronto City Council convened today for its first ever virtual session, which was also the municipal government's first meeting of the pandemic. Mayor John Tory expects this will be the new normal for the foreseeable future.
I am sad to say, based on expert public health evidence, that I believe it will be a while yet before we can gather together again in person.
The day's agenda was made up exclusively of motions deemed urgent by the mayor, including a proposed extension of Tory's special emergency powers. So far, he's used those to enact new physical distancing bylaws and to shut down public spaces like High Park, all without the usual council approval.
We remain committed to preventing loss of life. And doing that to the greatest extent possible.
The meeting's biggest new initiative centers on Toronto's homeless. It's a $50 million project to build hundreds of new modular homes, which could relieve stress on the city's shelter system. In London, that kind of housing looks like this. Toronto wants 110 of its own units by September and another 140 sometime next year.
Absolutely, with these modular housing units, the city should move ahead with them. They should move ahead faster, and they should build public housing on a rapid scale.
With more than 200 confirmed COVID-19 cases in Toronto's shelter system, advocates say the situation is dire and getting worse by the day.
And that's what we're seeing across the city. The number of homeless encampments are on the rise precisely because there is no space for them in Toronto shelters. And what space exists cannot be considered safe.
Councillors also approved a plan to consider more virtual meetings, meaning the full council and even smaller committees could start meeting regularly through webcams, like this. Nick Boisvert, CBC News, Toronto.
There was a special salute to hospital workers downtown tonight. Dozens of TTC and GO Transit employees in decorated buses paraded down Hospital Road tonight, assisted by Toronto Police. A big show of solidarity with their fellow frontline workers.
Please go outside with your family.
If only it was that simple. Coming up after the break, a look at what public health officials are saying about the risks of outdoor transmission of COVID-19. News you can use as a beauty of a weekend heads our way.
Well, Friday we start off with a bit of cloud cover, some patchy fog, a few showers, but the afternoon brightens up completely. And then into the weekend, we're looking at some temperatures like we haven't seen since last year. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. I'll have your complete forecast coming up after the break.
Time for our first look at the forecast with meteorologist Colette Kennedy. And Colette, we can look at tomorrow like a transition day to a warmer weekend we've been expecting.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. This is a transition we're all looking forward to. And it's almost like the day is transitional in terms of what we'll see in the morning. It's going to be a little different than what comes in into the afternoon. But overnight tonight, we are looking at still a few showers that we have to deal with. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, though, we really do get into that nice clearing. So 16 degrees will be the high. But this is how it looks. Along with those showers tonight, we do have the risk for some patchy fog. So any of you essential workers, if you do work shift work and you're out in the early morning hours, just know a little bit of reduced visibility. It'll be so welcome to see that clearing on Friday. And the warm-up Friday afternoon looks good, but the real warm-up coming as we get into the weekend. You're going to love those numbers. Some other numbers to show you. Our average high this time of year around 15 and the low right around 4 degrees. And today, okay, our high a little bit below there. We're going to get there. Don't worry, we're getting there. And so far the low there around 9 degrees. But the daytime highs around even just the region. Hamilton, you got into some of those sunny breaks, that little dry pocket we had in the later afternoon earlier than some of the rest of you, like Toronto and Oshawa. So 16 degrees there, but that's why it was only 13 in Toronto. It was a little later in the afternoon to Wade and Oshawa. That main line of rain kind of still pushing through there in the late afternoon and then getting into that clearing. Well, there is that main line now, but still some of that instability, so some scattered showers. And tonight, that risk even into tomorrow morning. This is 7 a.m. where I've stopped this. You can see the clouds still quite extensive, a few spotty showers, and again, a little bit of fog here and there. But this is 11 a.m., so we're just getting into the lunch hour. We're getting into a nice clearing trend. You'll clear out sooner around Markham and Newmarket. It may mean that you see your afternoon high warmer than some of your neighbors closer to the lake. We will get the rest of that clearing. You're going to have to wait for it, St. Catharines, so I'm keeping your temperature down just a tiny bit into those afternoon hours. Saturday starts off with sunshine, not the case southwestern Ontario back towards Windsor. You'll have the cloud cover. That will eventually move in and then clouding over overnight Saturday. The GTA could have a few stray showers, but then the opposite for Sunday and things clear back out once again. Tonight in southwestern Ontario, Leamington 6, Windsor 6 degrees, and tomorrow's highs, once we clear out some of the showers from the morning, 17 degrees. Sarnia just a little bit cooler there with that northwesterly breeze. Overnight tonight in the GTA, the 8s have it all around. Lucky number for many people, I know. And a look at tomorrow afternoon. There you go with your highs. Markham, maybe you'll get to 17 and just a little bit cooler there, St. Catharines, because you'll be waiting to get rid of that cloud cover. We do get rid of it. Saturday starts off sunny before the clouds roll in, so at least 18 for the high. Sunday starting off with the clouds and then the reverse, clearing out. So 21 degrees. What a weekend. We have been waiting for that 20 or higher to come our way since last year.
Absolutely. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather update is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. Take advantage of special offers now. It's hard to stop a Trane.
Now, with a warm forecast like that for the weekend, many people may be itching to spend some time outdoors, hopefully responsibly. But just how risky is it? Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley looks for the facts about outdoor transmission of COVID-19.
It's a natural human instinct, especially after 6 weeks stuck mostly indoors. But is getting outside for a walk the right thing to do in this pandemic? The message in Ontario?
You don't go to places where you think everybody else is going to go. You don't go out at hours of where everybody else is going to go.
Quite a different tone from British Columbia.
Please go outside. Go outside with your family.
With warmer weather arriving and COVID-19 restrictions still in place, many wonder about the risk of catching the coronavirus outdoors. There's no evidence that it's high.
The risk that somebody who is sick is spreading this virus from coughing or sneezing outside and you walk by them very quickly, even if it is within 6 feet, that risk is negligible.
In general, you just have to be sensible. So when we're talking about outside, we're not talking about sporting events with 10,000 people packed into the stands. We're talking about taking solitary walks outside in a park.
When the sun came out last weekend, plenty of people flocked to Toronto's lakeshore, prompting this from the city's top doctor.
I know it was a beautiful day, and I would have loved to have been outside.
There has been little research into outdoor transmission of COVID-19, but plenty of evidence suggests the virus spreads far more easily indoors.
It is more likely for us to transmit when we're having close contact over time with people in an enclosed environment.
If you were outside with the wind and potentially the rain and the sunlight and all of the various weather conditions and variables, you are at very low risk of transmission unless you are congregating in a crowd with other people.
We know that this disease is spread by the respiratory droplets that come from your nose and mouth when you in fact are sick or have an infection with COVID-19 and you're close enough to somebody that they are actually exposed.
Despite that, the overall message from Dr. Eileen Davila remains the same: stay at home.
To continue to stay the course, to continue to practice physical distancing, as challenging as it is at this time.
Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Medical professionals are dealing with new challenges each day, but a group of volunteers wanted to ensure that getting groceries wouldn't be one of them. So they started Grocery Hero about a month ago, and so far about 5,600 people from across the country have signed up.
Grocery Hero is a free delivery matching service to help frontline medical workers focus on fighting COVID-19. We do that by matching frontline medical workers with a volunteer grocery shopper in their neighborhood. 4 friends and I started Grocery Hero because each of us has family and friends working as medical professionals. We heard for weeks that grocery delivery services are oversubscribed, and at the same time they don't want to go into grocery stores and risk exposing the public. So we started doing grocery runs as a small way of helping out, but heard that the problem was getting worse, and at the same time thought that a lot of others would be interested in helping out their neighbors in the same way. And that's how the idea was born. Over a weekend, we built out a platform using simple tools like Google Forms to pair up medical professionals with volunteer shoppers in their neighborhood. We tried to make it as simple as possible. Once introduced, the medical professional and volunteer shopper communicate with each other directly to arrange availability, a shopping list, and reimbursement for the cost of goods only. The delivery is free and out of the goodness of volunteers' hearts. The best case scenario is that the two develop an ongoing shopping arrangement and don't need to use the platform anymore.
Fantastic initiative. Thank you for everything you're doing. If you'd like to share a story about your frontline hero, send us a selfie-style video explaining why they are a hero to you. You can tag us on Twitter or Instagram at CBC Toronto, send us a message on Facebook, or email us at torontotips@cbc.ca.
Just to let you know, I'll be logging off. Thank you very much. All the best to all the members.
Well, his colleagues couldn't celebrate with him in person, but York's police chief still got a special farewell today after more than 40 years of service. We'll have that for you after the break. Welcome back. The retirement party will have to wait, but tonight we want to mark the end of a 41-year career in policing. Today is York Region Police Chief Erica Jolliffe's last day on the job. Chief Jolliffe was raised in Thornhill, but he moved west to get his start in policing back in 1979. He served with the Edmonton Police Service for 2 years, braving some cold winters in the process. In 1981, he moved home and joined York Regional Police, where he'd spend the next 39 years. Jolliffe served in a number of roles and was involved in a number of charitable causes during his career. It all led to his appointment as chief in 2010, when he spearheaded a move to community policing. That is something he says he's particularly proud of. Chief Jolliffe says he's looking forward to not being on call 24 hours a day. He plans to spend time with his wife, children, and grandchildren in retirement. This afternoon, he made it official, calling into dispatch to log off for the last time.
D1 call.
Delta 1, go ahead.
Just to let you know, I'll be logging off. Thank you very much. All the best to all the members.
Delta 1, headquarters location on Don Hillica Drive at 1438 hours. You have worked tirelessly to be active in the many different communities within York Region and have been successful in your commitment of bringing people and police together. We are saddened that we could not come together as a family to wish you well in your retirement, to thank you for 41 years of policing service and your absolute dedication to the many voices of York Region. Chief, it is time for your final sign-off, to spend time with your wife, children, and grandchildren. Your Blue family will take it from here. Sir, it has been an honor and a privilege to know you, to work for you, and alongside you. Thank you for your service. We will mark you 10-7.
Such an interesting and neat tradition. Well, that's our newscast for tonight. Tomorrow, on an extended edition of The Current, the producers of the show are digging into the CBC archives for a bit of a break from this week's heavy news. They're airing an old Stuart McLean story, Fish Heads. That's one where Dave talks to Sam about the time he went fishing with his father and he caught a king cod with a deformed head. It's on The Current tomorrow morning on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.